signs of what God is doing in the world are notoriously elusive, and I think necessarily so, because God is not at our beck and call. I remember wrestling with this issue with a dear beloved friend, a theologian, who with his wife had had a prayer ministry in which they had prayed for healing for many people who they had seen get healed through their and other people's prayers. And then their own daughter-in-law got sick with cancer in her 30s, and they prayed, and she died. And that was just like really hard, like a kick in the teeth. Having trusted God to see so many things, then when it was deeply personal for them, it didn't happen. Now, I suspect half the people in this room could tell stories like that. But what this does mean is that God does act, God does do things. They're always surprising. We can't produce them. It's not our power that does it. When we pray, God does stuff, not always what we want. God always answers prayer, even if it's maybe a no or a wait or a, well, not that way actually. And in the middle of that, and prayer is a funny thing, and answered prayer is a funny thing, because it doesn't work on a sort of sliding scale that if I pray once, it might happen. If I pray twice, it's very likely. If I pray 3 times, it really is. I remember once my spiritual director saying to me, when I was wrestling with some issue, I forget what it was, I said, how long do I have to go on praying about this? And he said, it might be 10 years, might be 20 years, I don't know. I'm not God. And in my own experience, personally and working in ministry, etc., when you pray for things, sometimes it happens absolutely then and there, as though God's been waiting for you to ask, I want to give this to you, but I want you to know it's my gift and not just a coincidence. So please, one prayer will do it. And then other times, it really is day by day hard graft. And then quite suddenly, a year or 2 years or 5 years later, all sorts of things happen in a string. Bang, 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 bang. You think, where did all that come from? Oh, wait a minute, I have been praying about that for the last 5 years. And so it remains elusive, and I think necessarily so, because it isn't in our gift. But anyone that's worked with real churches for some time will know that there are huge frustrations, because churches consist of frail, fallible humans like you and me, but also those wonderful moments when actually something happens, a golden moment of either healing or new life or something. And again, in my ministry, I've been privileged to see several such. New projects springing up. There's a church in a really, really, really poor area of my diocese, one particular bit of one conurbation, a very unpleasant, dirty rust belt of an area, where most of the families were actually single mothers with children, because most of the men had gone off or been killed in fights or whatever. Horrible area. And so there were these single mothers who had to work if they could to earn money, but then that meant that their kids had nowhere to go all day, and there was no playgroup. So the church said, we haven't got the resources, but we will do something for these children. And it set up from scratch an amazing little project in that neighborhood. And these children were safe, and their mothers could come and pick them up when they came back from work or whatever. And it sent a sign out into the neighborhood that actually there is a different way to do stuff, and that we don't have to wait for the government to do it. The church is right there, even if we don't have many resources. Or another